Hello, my dear students. Hope you all are doing great. So, today we are going to learn about what is biomagnification and will the level of this magnification be different at different level of the ecosystem. Okay, so what is biomagnification? So, biomagnification means when the harmful substances like heavy metals or chemicals, synthetic chemicals like DDT and the heavy metals like the mercury gets accumulated or accumulates inside our tissues, then it enters our food chain, and when it enters the food chain, then it gets concentrated in each trophic levels. That is very much harmful for us. Okay, so now let's write what is biomagnification. Okay, so what is the definition of biomagnification? Biomagnification. So, what is biomagnification? Biomagnification means the accumulation of harmful substances like heavy metals and synthetic chemicals inside our tissues when those harmful substances enters into the enters into the food chain, then it gets concentrated in each trophic level. Okay, so when it moves upward the food chain, then it gets more concentrated and it's very much harmful, very much more harmful for the upper trophic levels animals. Okay, so now what is biomagnification? Biomagnification means the accumulation of harmful substances like heavy metals and synthetic chemicals inside our tissues, and when those harmful substances enters into the food chain, then it gets concentrated in each trophic level. Suppose if we draw a food chain suppose if we draw a food chain, at the bottom of the food chain there is always the producers, then primary consumers, and then secondary consumers. Okay, so suppose it's a food chain, you all know. So when the biomagnification happens, then when the harmful particles is taken up by the producers, then it gets more concentrated in primary consumers body, then it gets more concentrated in secondary consumers body. Okay, so if the energy flow is if the energy flow is producers to primary consumers to secondary consumers, then the harmful synthetic chemicals and heavy metals like DDT, mercury, etc. Heavy metals gets more concentrated in each trophic levels. In each trophic levels and becomes more dangerous or more harmful for the upper level consumers of the food chain, okay, of the food chain. So if the energy flow is from producers to primary consumers to secondary consumers, then the harmful synthetic chemicals and the heavy metals like DDT, mercury, etc. gets more concentrated in each trophic levels and becomes more harmful for the upper level consumers of the food chain. Okay, so this way the level of the magnification be different at different level of the ecosystem. Okay, so this way the level of this magnification be different at different trophic levels. Hello, okay, so do you understand? So what is biomagnification? Biomagnification means the accumulation of harmful substances like heavy metals and synthetic chemicals inside our tissues, and when those harmful substances enters into the food chain, then it gets more concentrated in each trophic level. Okay, so if the concentration when the harmful chemicals or harmful substance enters into the food chain, then if it is taken up by the producers, in then it will be more concentrated in primary consumer and it will get more concentrated in secondary consumer. Okay, so this is the reason. Okay, so here we discussed about the biomagnification, and if the level of this biomagnification be different at different level of the ecosystem. Okay, so now we have to learn about the examples. What are the examples? Examples are examples DDT, mercury, etc. Okay, so those are the examples of the heavy metals or synthetic chemicals that are responsible for the biomagnification process. Okay, so this is your answer. Let's move to the next question. Our next question is, what is natural resources and why do we need to manage our resources? Okay, so what is natural resources? Anything in the environment that can be used for our sustained life or our advancement purpose or for our comfort or for our survival, those resources of the natures are called natural resources. Okay, so they are the gifts of nature. They are the gifts of nature, and people or the human doesn't create them. They just learn how to use them for their own purpose, like to lead a comfort life or to technical advancement or to get or to survive in the art. So those resources are called the natural resources. Okay, so what is natural resources? So natural resources, what is natural resources? So let's write anything anything in the environment that can be used for survival, comfort, or technical advancement by us are called natural resources. Natural resources. So basically they are the gifts of our nature. Okay, so let's write. So basically they are the gifts of nature. Okay, humans doesn't create them. They just learn how to use them for their own purpose. Okay, like like survival, comfort, or technical advancement. Technical advancement. Okay, so what is natural resources? Anything in the environment that can be used for the survival, comfort, or technical advancement by us are called the natural resources. Okay, so basically they are the gifts of nature, and human doesn't create them, they just learn how to use them for their own purpose, like their comfort, their survival, and the technical development. Okay, so now we have to learn about and how many natural sources are there. There are two types of natural resources. They are renewable resource and non-renewable resources. Okay, so what are renewable resources and what are non-renewable resources? Resources that are present in the environment infinitely. That means that can be replaced by the nature automatically. It doesn't runs out. Okay, so when we use them, when you use those natural resources for our purpose, then it can be replaced by the nature again. So losses of the those resources can be filled by the nature herself. Okay, so the renewable resources are the solar energy, water energy, wind energy, and the biomass energy. Okay, so what are renewable resources? So at first we have to learn about what are renewable resources. So basically the renewable resources are sun sun energy, water energy, wind energy, biomass energy, that can be easily get from the nature. It doesn't runs out, and it is rep- replenishable. Okay, so it can be easily get from the nature, and it doesn't runs out, and it is replenishable. Okay, so those are the renewable resources of the nature. And what are the non-renewable resources of the nature that are present in our environment in a finite or the specific amount, so it can't be replenishable. Okay, so those are the non-renewable resources are like the fossil fuels, like the coals, petroleums or natural gases. Those are the non-renewable resources of the nature. Okay, so now we have to learn about what are non-renewable resources. The non-renewable resources means the resources that are present in our environment in a specific amount, in a specific amount, and it can't be replenished and easily runs out are called non-renewable resources. Non-renewable resources. Okay, like fossil fuels, coals, petroleum, and natural gas. Okay, so those are the non-renewable resources of our nature. Okay, so what are natural resources? Anything in the environment that can be used for survival, comfort and technical advancement by us are called natural resources. Basically, they are the gifts of the nature. Human doesn't create them, they just learned how to use them for their own purpose, like survival, comfort, technical advancement. Okay, then they are of two types. Okay, renewable resources, non-renewable resources. So renewable resources means the renewable resources are sun energy, water energy, wind energy and the biomass energy. You all know that can be easily get from the nature. It doesn't runs out and it is replenishable. Okay, non-renewable resources means the resources that are present in our environment in a specific amount and it can't be replenished and they are easily runs out are called the non-renewable resources, like the fossil fuels, coals, petroleum and natural gas. Okay, so they are environment friendly and they are the cause of air pollution. You all know they are very much environment friendly, but they are the cause of air pollution. Okay, now we have to learn why do we need to manage our natural resources. So now we have to learn about why we have to manage our natural resources. Now we need to manage our natural resources. Natural resources. Why? Because because the natural resources maintains the balance of the ecosystem. Natural resources maintains the balance of the ecosystem, and the energy which we use daily are a big portion of the raw non-renewable source of energy that causes the air pollution. It's not environmentally, you all know, and it causes also the soil pollution and also the noise pollution. So it those are the reason for the environmental pollution. Okay, so we have to learn about the renewable sources of energy that are present in the nature in a infinite form. Okay, so they are replenishable and can be it doesn't runs out, and it's a very eco-friendly and also the environment friendly. So why do we need to manage our resources? Because at first it maintains it maintains the balance of the ecosystem. Okay, so the ecosystems depends on natural resources natural resources like green plants green plants or forests. Okay, so if the if we cut the green plants and trees, then the ecosystem will get hampered because forests and trees are the natural habitat for many animals for many animals. Okay, so this is number one, and number two, the energy which we are uses daily are a big part of the non-renewable resources. Okay, so we all know that non-renewable resources are very limited, so it can't be replenished by the nature, so it's easily runs out. Okay, so we have to manage our natural resources. Number second, the energy which we are we are used daily are obtained from non-renewable resources. Okay, so we all know the non-renewable resources are can't be replenished by the nature or replaced by the nature, and it runs out easily, and their amount is limited. So energy conservation is needed. So energy conservation is needed. And to maintain the overconsumption of energy. Okay, and to maintain the overconsumption of energy, we need to manage our resources, and to maintain and to maintain the overconsumption of energy, we need to maintain we need to maintain or we need to manage our resources. Okay, so these are the reasons why we have to manage our resources. Okay, so my dear students, that's all for today. So have a nice time and best of luck.